Hello, my dear friends. I'm so glad you're here. You know, in my opinion, some of the most powerful love stories don't begin with passion. They begin with pain, doubt, and unexpected choices. Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. So sit back, relax, and join me as we step into this unforgettable story of love, secrets, and second chances. You won't want to miss what happens next.
I still remember the way his hand trembled when he reached for mine that first night. Not from weakness, from fear. They told me he couldn't walk. They told me he couldn't work. They told me I was doing my duty by marrying a broken man. They were wrong about everything. My name is Margaret. I'm 72 years old now. And this is the story of how I married a stranger the village pitied, only to discover on our wedding night that everything I'd been told was a lie. But the real shock wasn't what I found that night. It was what happened after. The rain was falling hard the day Mrs. Henderson came to our door. I was 28 years old, standing at the kitchen sink of my father's house, washing dishes that would never quite come clean no matter how hard I scrubbed. I heard her voice before I saw her. "Margaret needs to marry," she said. Not asked. Said. My father didn't answer right away. I could hear him breathing in that heavy way he did when he was thinking about money we didn't have. "She's not getting any younger, Thomas," Mrs. Henderson continued. Her voice was kind but firm. "The way you talk to a child who doesn't understand what's good for them. And there's a man who needs a wife." I dried my hands slowly on the towel. The fabric was thin from years of use. "What man?" my father finally asked. "Daniel Morrison." The room went quiet. Everyone in the village knew about Daniel Morrison. He'd been in an accident 2 years before. A fall from the old grain mill. They said he'd never walk right again. That he lived in that big house at the edge of town with his elderly mother, both of them barely getting by. "Daniel can't." My father started. "Daniel has a house," Mrs. Henderson interrupted. "A good house. And his mother needs help. She's 83 years old, Thomas. She can't care for him alone anymore." I walked to the doorway then. Both of them turned to look at me. Mrs. Henderson's face softened. "Margaret, dear, you're a good girl. A kind girl. And Daniel, he needs kindness now." "What about what I need?" I asked quietly. My father looked at the floor. "You need a home," Mrs. Henderson said gently. "Your father needs. Well, Daniel's mother is prepared to help with certain debts. It would be a blessing for both families." A blessing. That's what she called it. I looked at my father. Really looked at him. He was 56 but looked 70. His hands shook slightly. The farm had been failing for 3 years. I knew about the debts. I knew about the letters from the bank he tried to hide. "How much?" I asked. "Margaret," my father began. "How much would they pay?" Mrs. Henderson named a figure. It was enough to save the farm. Enough to give my father another chance. I turned back to the sink. Picked up another dish. "When?" I asked. "Saturday," Mrs. Henderson said. "If you agree." Saturday was 4 days away. I scrubbed the dish in my hands. Around and around. The water had gone cold. "All right," I said. The next 3 days passed like a strange dream. My father didn't talk much. He'd pat my shoulder as he walked past, but he couldn't quite meet my eyes. On Thursday, Mrs. Henderson brought a dress. It was simple, cream-colored. It had belonged to her daughter who'd moved to the city. "It's clean," she said. "And it's pretty. You'll look lovely." I held the dress up to the window. The fabric was soft. Nicer than anything I owned. "Have you met him?" I asked. "Daniel." Mrs. Henderson smoothed her skirt. "Not since the accident. But I knew him before. He was a good boy. Quiet. Smart. He worked hard at the mill before." She trailed off. "Before he fell?" "Yes." "Can he speak?" I asked. I don't know why that was the question that came out. But suddenly I needed to know. "Of course he can speak, dear. He's not. It's his legs that were hurt. And his back. But his mind is fine. He's still Daniel. Still Daniel." As if I knew who Daniel was. As if we'd shared anything more than the same village air. "What if he doesn't want this?" I asked. Mrs. Henderson looked at me for a long moment. "His mother says he agreed." Agreed. Not wanted. Agreed. Just like me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my small bed and thought about the man I would marry in 2 days. I tried to imagine his face, but I couldn't. I'd seen him before the accident, of course. Everyone knew everyone in our village. But I couldn't pull up a clear memory. Tall, I thought. He'd been tall. Dark hair. That was all I had. I wondered if he was afraid too. Friday came. I walked to the church to meet with Pastor Williams. He would perform the ceremony. His office smelled like old books and lemon oil. "Margaret," he said warmly. "Sit, please." I sat. "This is a good thing you're doing," he said. "A kind thing." I folded my hands in my lap. "Is it kind if I'm being paid for it?" Pastor Williams smiled sadly. "Kindness takes many forms, child. Daniel needs help. You need security. Both families need relief. God works through our earthly needs too. Have you seen him?" I asked. "Since the accident? I visit once a month. To pray with him and his mother." "What is he like?" The pastor was quiet for a moment. "Sad," he finally said. "Very sad. He sits by the window most days. Doesn't say much. I think he feels like a burden. Something twisted in my chest. I didn't know if it was pity or something else." "Does he know about me?" I asked. "He knows a wedding is arranged." "Yes. But does he know about me?" "Margaret. What I'm like. Do you know about him?" Pastor Williams asked gently. I looked down at my hands. "Marriage is a journey of discovery," he said. "Sometimes it begins with love. Sometimes love is what you find along the way." I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that something good could come from something that felt so much like giving up. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke up and put on the cream dress. Mrs. Henderson had brought shoes too. They were a little tight, but they matched. My father knocked on my door. "Margaret, it's time." There was no excitement, no joy, just quiet resignation. The church was nearly empty. Just a few people. Mrs. Henderson, Pastor Williams, a couple of neighbors, my father, and at the front, in a wheelchair, sat Daniel Morrison. I stopped in the doorway. This was the first time I'd really seen him in 2 years. His back was to me, but I could see his shoulders. Broad, tense. His dark hair was neatly combed. Mrs. Morrison sat beside him, tiny and frail. She looked back at me and smiled. It was a grateful smile. Relieved. My father offered me his arm. I took it. We walked down the short aisle. Our footsteps echoed. When we reached the front, Daniel's wheelchair turned, and I saw his face. He was handsome, more than I'd remembered. Sharp features, dark eyes. But those eyes, they looked hollow, empty, like someone who'd stopped hoping for anything. He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something flicker there. Surprise, maybe, or confusion. Pastor Williams began to speak. I barely heard the words. I kept glancing at Daniel. He stared straight ahead now. His jaw was tight. His hands gripped the arms of his wheelchair. "Do you, Daniel Morrison, take Margaret to be your lawfully wedded wife?" A pause. Too long. "I do," he finally said. His voice was rough, like he didn't use it much anymore. "And do you, Margaret Thompson, take Daniel to be your lawfully wedded husband?" I looked at this stranger. This sad, broken stranger who was about to become my whole life. "I do," I whispered. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." No kiss. Daniel didn't move. I didn't move. It was done. After the ceremony, there was no reception, no celebration. Mrs. Morrison hugged me. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving him a chance." I didn't know what to say to that. My father shook Daniel's hand. Daniel took it, but said nothing. Then we went to the house. Daniel's house. My house now, I supposed. It was bigger than I'd expected. 2 stories. White paint that needed refreshing. A wide porch. It sat on a small hill overlooking the village. Mr. Peters, a neighbor, helped get Daniel's wheelchair up the front steps. Daniel's face burned red with embarrassment the whole time. "I can manage," he said quietly. "Nearly there," Mr. Peters said cheerfully, ignoring him. Inside, the house was clean but sparse. Mrs. Morrison had clearly done her best, but it had the feeling of a place where people were just surviving, not living. "Your room is upstairs," Mrs. Morrison said to me. "Second door on the right. I've prepared it for you." "Our room?" I asked, confused. She glanced at Daniel. "Daniel sleeps downstairs. In the study. Since the accident, the stairs are." "I see," I said quietly. Daniel wheeled himself toward the back of the house without a word. Mrs. Morrison touched my arm. "He's not always this quiet. Before the accident, he was different. Laughed more. But now, be patient with him, dear. Please. I nodded. She showed me the kitchen, the pantry, where things were kept. She moved slowly, explaining everything in detail. I realized she was tired. So tired. Why don't you rest? I suggested. I can make dinner. Oh, would you? That would be lovely. She shuffled off to her room on the ground floor. I stood alone in the kitchen of my new home, my new life. I could hear Daniel in the study, the slight creak of his wheelchair. I started preparing dinner. Dinner was quiet. We sat at the table, me, Daniel, and his mother. I'd made a simple stew and bread. Mrs. Morrison praised it warmly. Daniel ate in silence. He barely looked up. Margaret is a wonderful cook, isn't she, Daniel? His mother prompted. Yes, he said quietly. Thank you. Those were the only words he spoke the entire meal. After dinner, Mrs. Morrison excused herself early. I'm more tired than usual, she said, patting my hand. Old age, you know. Then it was just Daniel and me. He wheeled himself to the window, stared out at the darkening sky. I washed the dishes. The silence felt heavy. I'll go upstairs, I finally said. If you need anything. I won't, he interrupted. Not rudely, just matter of fact. I stood there a moment longer. Then I went upstairs. The bedroom was small but clean. A single bed, a dresser, a window that looked out over the back garden. I changed into my nightgown, sat on the edge of the bed. This was my wedding night. I was married, and my husband was a stranger in a wheelchair downstairs who could barely look at me. I lay down, closed my eyes, and then I heard it. Footsteps. I sat up, confused. Footsteps. On the stairs. Slow. Deliberate. Coming up. My heart started pounding. The house only had 3 people. Mrs. Morrison was elderly and in her ground floor room. Daniel couldn't walk. The footsteps stopped outside my door. A long pause. Then a knock. Soft. Margaret. Daniel's voice. I stared at the door. This wasn't possible. Yes. I managed. May I come in? I stood up, walked to the door, opened it slowly, and there he stood. Daniel. Standing. No wheelchair. No cane. Just standing there, tall and whole, looking at me with eyes that were no longer empty. They were afraid. You can walk, I whispered. He nodded slowly. You've been able to walk. This whole time. Another nod. I don't understand. He looked down the hallway, then back at me. May I explain? Please. I stepped back. He walked in. Actual walked. His gait was normal. Strong. I closed the door. We stood there, facing each other in the dim light from the bedside lamp. I'm sorry, he said. Those were the first real words he'd said to me all day. 2 years ago, Daniel began, I did fall. At the mill. I was hurt. Badly. My back. My legs. He sat down on the edge of the bed. I stayed standing, my mind racing. The doctors said I might never walk again. For 6 months, I couldn't. I was in that chair. In pain. Angry. So angry at the world. I listened. Said nothing. Then slowly I started to heal. Started to move my legs again. After a year, I could stand. With practice, I could walk. The doctors were amazed. Called it a miracle. Then why? I started. Because by then I'd seen the truth, he said, his voice dropping. When people thought I was disabled, they showed me who they really were. He looked up at me. Business partners who'd been friends for years disappeared. Didn't visit once. The woman I was courting before the accident, Sarah Jenkins, she came once. Looked at me in that chair and never came back. Sent her father to break our engagement. I felt something twist in my chest. People talked, he continued. I could hear them when they visited my mother. Poor Daniel. What a tragedy. He was so promising. Now he's just a burden. So you stayed in the chair, I said quietly. I stayed in the chair, he confirmed. And I watched. The whole village. All the people I'd known my whole life. I watched them write me off. Forget me. Or worse, pity me with that terrible, empty pity that makes you feel like less than nothing. He stood up then. Walked to the window. My mother doesn't know, he said. She's old. Her health is fragile. The stress of my accident nearly killed her. I couldn't tell her I could walk, and then watch her realize what I was doing, what I'd learned about people. You've been lying for a year, I said. Yes. To everyone. Yes. I sat down in the chair by the dresser. Tried to process this. Why are you telling me? I asked. Why now? He turned from the window. Because you're my wife. And I won't lie to you. Not in our home. Not in. He gestured vaguely. Not in this. This marriage you didn't want. A marriage neither of us wanted. He corrected gently. That was fair. Why did you agree to it? I asked. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair. My mother is dying, Margaret. She doesn't know it yet, but I do. I've seen the signs. The doctors confirmed it 3 months ago. She has maybe a year. My throat tightened. Her greatest worry, her only worry, is me. What will happen to me when she's gone? Who will care for poor Daniel in his wheelchair? She can't die in peace while I'm alone. So when Mrs. Henderson suggested the arrangement, you agreed to give your mother peace. Yes. We sat in silence for a long moment. What happens now? I finally asked. I don't know, he said honestly. I never thought past today. I thought you'd want your own space. I thought I'd keep my distance. Let you live your life. I'd stay in the chair. Eventually, my mother would pass. And then, I don't know. You'd what? Get up and walk away. Leave the village. Maybe, he said. Probably. I looked at this man. This stranger who was my husband. Who'd been living a lie for a year. Who was standing in front of me now with his truth. Your mother needs help, I said slowly. Real help. Cooking. Cleaning. Care. Yes. And you need. I don't need anything, he said quickly. Everyone needs something, I said. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. What do you need, Margaret? No one had asked me that in years. I need honesty, I said. If we're going to live in this house together, I need honesty. All right. And I need to know, when your mother passes, when you don't need to pretend anymore. What happens to me? To this marriage? He was quiet for a long moment. I won't trap you, he finally said. When she's gone, if you want to leave, I'll help you. Money. A new start somewhere. Whatever you need. I won't hold you to vows that were made under false pretenses. It was a fair offer. More than fair. And if I stay? I asked. He looked surprised. Why would you stay? I'm asking hypothetically. Then hypothetically, he said carefully. I would be grateful. But I wouldn't expect you to be a real wife. You could have your own life here. Your own room. We'd just be 2 people sharing a house. 2 people sharing a house. That's all we were. That's all he thought we could be. Maybe he was right. The next morning, I woke up confused for a moment about where I was. Then I remembered. Everything. I dressed and went downstairs. Daniel was already in his wheelchair in the kitchen. His mother was there too, sipping tea. Good morning, dear, Mrs. Morrison said warmly. Did you sleep well? Yes, thank you. I lied. Daniel glanced at me. Our eyes met for just a second. Then he looked away. We were keeping his secret together now. I was part of the lie. I made breakfast. Mrs. Morrison chatted about the garden, about neighbors, about nothing important. Daniel stayed silent. After breakfast, Mrs. Morrison went to rest. She tired so easily. Daniel wheeled himself to the study. I started cleaning. The house needed it. Not because Mrs. Morrison hadn't tried, but because she was too old and Daniel was too disabled to help. Around mid-morning, I heard a crash from the study. I rushed in. A book had fallen. Daniel was reaching for it from his chair, his face frustrated. I'll get it, I said. I can manage. I'm sure you can, I said quietly. But I'm here. I picked up the book. Our hands touched for a moment as I gave it to him. Thank you, he said. After that, I went back to cleaning. The days developed a rhythm. I cooked, cleaned, cared for Mrs. Morrison. She was kind to me, patient. She taught me things about the house, about the village, about Daniel when he was young. He was such a happy boy, she said one afternoon as we folded laundry together. Always reading, always curious. He wanted to be a teacher once. Did you know that? I didn't know. But his father died when Daniel was 19. Someone had to run the mill. So he did. He was good at it too. Made it profitable. He gave up his dreams to take care of me. She patted my hand. He'll take care of you too, dear. In his way. He's a good man. I wondered what she'd think if she knew the truth. At night, after she went to bed, Daniel would come upstairs. Not every night, but most nights. We'd sit in my room and talk. Quietly. About small things at first. Mrs. Henderson came by today, I'd say. She brought vegetables from her garden. That was kind of her. She asked how you were doing. I said you were resting well. Thank you. Simple exchanges. But slowly, over days, they grew longer. One night, about 2 weeks after the wedding, I asked him, "What do you do all day?" "In the study." "I read," he said. "And I write." "Write what?" He hesitated. "Stories. Sometimes. Other times just thoughts." "May I read something?" "It's not very good." "I'd still like to." The next night, he brought up a few pages. Handwritten. A story about a man who woke up to find he'd become invisible. I read it while he waited, anxious. "This is beautiful," I said honestly. "You're just being kind." "No. It's really beautiful." The way he describes feeling invisible even before it happened. Like the invisibility was just making literal what was already true. Daniel looked at me with surprise. "That's exactly what I was trying to say." "Then you said it well." Something shifted between us that night. Something small but real. The village kept up its visits. Pastor Williams came every Sunday after church. He'd pray with Daniel and Mrs. Morrison. I'd serve tea and cake. Mrs. Henderson came Tuesdays and Fridays. She'd bring gossip and groceries. Other women came occasionally. They'd cluck sympathetically at Daniel. "Poor dear," they'd say right in front of him, as if he couldn't hear. I started to understand his anger. One day, Mrs. Porter visited. She'd been Sarah's mother. Sarah, the woman who'd left Daniel. She sat in our parlor, drinking tea, talking to Mrs. Morrison. "Sarah is engaged now," she said. "To a banker from the city. Very successful. They're very happy." I watched Daniel. His face was neutral, but his hands gripped the wheelchair arms. "How lovely for her," Mrs. Morrison said. Yes. Of course, it was difficult. After Daniel's accident, Sarah was heartbroken, but she couldn't sacrifice her whole life, you understand. She's young. She needs a husband who can provide, who can be a real partner. The words hung in the air. Mrs. Morrison's face fell. "Of course," she said quietly. After Mrs. Porter left, Mrs. Morrison went to lie down. She looked shaken. I found Daniel in the study. He was staring out the window, his jaw tight. "She had no right," I said. "She had every right. It's the truth." "No. It's cruelty disguised as truth." He looked at me. "Does it matter? Sarah's gone. She has her banker. I have my wheelchair. Everyone got what they wanted. Did you love her?" I asked. I don't know why I asked. "I thought I did," he said. "Before. Now I think I love the idea of her. The future we'd planned. But her, the real her, I don't think I ever really knew her." "She didn't know you either," I said. "No," he agreed. "She didn't." A month passed. Then 6 weeks. Mrs. Morrison's health was declining. Slowly but noticeably. She slept more. Ate less. The doctor came regularly now. I cared for her. Sat with her. Read to her when she was too tired to hold a book herself. "You're a blessing, Margaret," she told me one afternoon. "I prayed for someone kind for Daniel. God sent me you." I held her hand. It felt fragile. Like paper. "Rest now," I said gently. At night, Daniel and I talked more. Our conversations grew deeper. "Do you miss your father's farm?" he asked one evening. "Sometimes," I admitted. But it was failing. There was no future there. "What did you want?" Before all this, I thought about it. I don't know. I never let myself want things. It seemed pointless. That's sad. Is it? Yes. Everyone should want something. "What do you want?" I asked. He was quiet for a long time. "I wanted to teach, to write, to have a family, a real home filled with laughter." "You can still have that." "Can I?" "I'm living a lie, Margaret. My mother is dying. My life is pretending to be broken. That's not a foundation for anything real." "Then stop pretending," I said. "I can't. Not while she's alive. It would kill her to know the truth." "Not the truth about walking," I said. "The truth about living. About wanting things. About being more than what the accident made you." He looked at me in the lamplight. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm not wise. I'm just honest." Things changed after that conversation. Subtly. Daniel still used the wheelchair downstairs. Still played his part. But upstairs, in the evenings, he was different. He'd help me fold laundry. We'd cook dinner together after his mother went to bed. He'd tell me stories from before the accident. I'd tell him about growing up on the farm. We were becoming friends. One night, about 8 weeks after our wedding, I was having trouble sleeping. I went downstairs for some water. Daniel was in the kitchen, standing, making tea. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "No." He poured 2 cups. We sat at the table. "My mother asked me today if we were happy," he said. "What did you tell her?" I said yes. Was it a lie? He looked at me over his cup. No, I don't think it was. My heart did something strange. Margaret, he said slowly, this arrangement we have, it's not what either of us planned. No, but it's not terrible either. Is it? No, I agreed. It's not terrible. You've been kind to me. Patient. You haven't looked at me with pity like everyone else. You see me. The real me. You see me too, I said quietly. Yes. He reached across the table. Took my hand. I'm grateful for that. We sat there, holding hands in the quiet kitchen. It wasn't romantic. Not exactly. But it was real. Mrs. Morrison had a bad spell in early November. The doctor came. Shook his head. Keep her comfortable, he said quietly. It won't be long now. Daniel's face went pale. That night, he didn't come upstairs. I could hear him pacing in his study. Then nothing. I went down. He was sitting in the dark. In his wheelchair. Hunched over. Daniel. I'm not ready, he said. His voice broke. I'm not ready to lose her. I knelt beside him. Put my hand on his arm. I know. She's all I have. No, I said gently. She's not. He looked at me. In the darkness, I could see tears on his face. You have me, I said. We barely know each other. We know enough. He took my hand. Held it tightly. We sat like that for a long time. Mrs. Morrison rallied for a few days. She seemed brighter. More alert. I want to see the garden one more time, she said. It was cold outside. Nearly winter. But Daniel and I bundled her up. Got her into her chair. Wheeled her out to the garden. The flowers were mostly gone. But the trees were beautiful. Red and gold leaves still clinging to branches. Daniel, she said. Push me to the apple tree. He wheeled her over. I walked beside them. Under the tree, she smiled. This is where his father proposed to me. 52 years ago. Right here. She looked up at Daniel. You look like him. So much like him. I hope I'm half the man he was, Daniel said. You're better, she said firmly. You're stronger. You've endured what would have broken him. She reached for my hand. For Daniel's hand. Put them together. Take care of each other, she said. That's all that matters in the end. Taking care of each other. We will, mother, Daniel said. She smiled. Closed her eyes. Breathed in the cold air. It's beautiful, she whispered. She died 3 days later. Peacefully. In her sleep. Just slipped away sometime in the early morning. I found her when I brought her breakfast. She looked peaceful. Like she was just sleeping. I got Daniel. He came upstairs, walking, because there was no one left to hide from now. He sat on the edge of her bed. Held her hand. Thank you, he whispered. For everything. For loving me. For never giving up on me. For finding me Margaret. He cried then. Deep, broken sobs. I stood in the doorway. Gave him space. But when he reached back blindly, I went to him. He held on to me. And I held him. The funeral was well attended. The whole village came. They loved Mrs. Morrison. She'd been kind to everyone. They looked at Daniel in his wheelchair with renewed pity. Poor boy, they whispered. Now he's all alone. If only they knew. After the funeral, after everyone left, Daniel and I sat in the empty house. What now? I asked. I don't know, he said honestly. Will you keep pretending? He looked around the house. His mother's house. His house. Our house. No, he said finally. I'm done pretending. What will you tell people? The truth. That I've been healing. That I can walk now. It's not even a lie. I have been healing. Just not the way they think. They'll talk. They always talk. I don't care anymore. He stood up from the wheelchair. Really stood. In front of the window where anyone could see. It felt like a moment. Like something important. The next Sunday we went to church. Daniel walked in. The whole congregation stopped. Stared. Pastor Williams nearly dropped his Bible. Daniel. Mrs. Henderson gasped. Hello, everyone, Daniel said calmly. I've been healing. The doctors didn't think I would. But sometimes miracles happen. The whispers started immediately. After the service, we were surrounded. Everyone had questions. When did this happen? Why didn't you tell anyone? This is wonderful. Daniel answered patiently. Vaguely. It's been gradual. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. They believed him. Or at least they pretended to. Mrs. Henderson pulled me aside. Did you know? Yes, I said simply. And you didn't tell anyone? It wasn't my secret to tell. She studied me. Then smiled. You're good for him. I can see that. Life changed after that. Daniel started going out, walking through the village. At first, people stared, but gradually they got used to it. He went to the mill, the one he used to manage. Mr. Peters, who'd been running it, was shocked and worried. "Are you here to take it back?" he asked. "No," Daniel said. "I'm here to help. If you'll have me." They worked out an arrangement. Daniel would come in 3 days a week, use his business mind. Mr. Peters would handle the physical work. It was good for Daniel. He came home energized, alive again, and in the evenings, we'd sit together, talk about our days. We were building something, slowly, carefully. One night in December, 3 months after our wedding, Daniel asked me to walk with him. We bundled up against the cold, walked to the apple tree where his parents had gotten engaged. Snow was falling lightly. "Margaret," he said, "I need to ask you something." "All right." When we married, it was an arrangement. For your father's debts. For my mother's peace. Not for us. I know. My mother is gone now. Your father's debts are paid. You're free. You could leave. Start over. I meant what I said. I'll help you. My heart was pounding. "Is that what you want?" I asked. "No," he said simply. "But I don't want you to stay out of obligation either." "What if I'm not staying out of obligation?" He looked at me. "Then why are you staying?" I took a breath. "Because in the last 3 months, I've seen who you really are. Not the man in the wheelchair. Not the lie. You. And I like who you are. I like our evenings. Our conversations. I like the life we're building." "I like it too," he said quietly. "Then maybe we don't need any other reason." He reached for my hand. "Margaret Thompson Morrison, would you consider staying married to me? Not out of obligation, but as a choice." "Yes," I said. "And would you consider, maybe someday, this being a real marriage? In all ways." My breath caught. "Not now," he said quickly. "I'm not asking for that now. We barely know each other still. But someday, if we keep growing together, would you consider it?" I looked at this man, this good, broken, healing man who'd become my friend. "Yes," I said. "I'd consider it." He smiled, really smiled. I'd never seen him smile like that. "Then we have time," he said. "All the time we need." He kissed my forehead, gently, sweetly, and we walked home through the snow. Winter passed into spring. Daniel and I grew closer. Not dramatically. No sudden declarations. Just slowly, steadily closer. We worked on the house together. Painted the shutters. Fixed the porch. Planted a garden. I learned that Daniel loved terrible puns. He'd make them while we worked, and I'd grown, but secretly I loved them. He learned that I sang when I cooked. Quietly. Old songs my mother had taught me. One day, he asked me to teach him one. We stood in the kitchen, his hands covered in flour from the bread we were making, singing together. It was such a small moment, but I remember thinking, this is happiness. In April, my father came to visit. He looked better, healthier. The farm was recovering. He hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for asking you to do this, for making you." "Father," I interrupted. "I'm happy." He pulled back, looked at me. Truly, truly. He looked over at Daniel, who was giving us privacy from across the room. "He's a good man," my father said. "Yes, he is." Before he left, my father pulled Daniel aside. I couldn't hear what they said, but when they came back, both of them looked emotional. Later, Daniel told me. He thanked me for making you happy. Said that was all he ever wanted for you. That summer, Daniel asked if I'd ever wanted children. We were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. I never let myself think about it, I admitted. It didn't seem possible. "Is it something you'd want?" "If it were possible." I looked at him. We'd been married almost a year. We shared a house, a life, but not a bed. We were still friends, still building. "Yes," I said honestly. "Someday. Would you?" "I always wanted children," he said. Before the accident, Sarah and I talked about having 4. Something flickered in my chest. Jealousy, maybe. But that was a different life, he continued. A different future. Now, I'd be happy with whatever comes. 1 child. 2. None. As long as I have you. He took my hand. "Margaret, I think I need to tell you something." "All right. I'm falling in love with you." My heart stopped. "I know we started as strangers," he continued. "I know this wasn't a love match. But somewhere along the way, you became my best friend. And now you're becoming more. And I needed you to know. I couldn't speak. You don't have to say anything, he said quickly. I just needed to be honest. We promised each other honesty. Daniel, I finally managed. Yes, I'm falling in love with you too. His eyes widened. You are? Yes, I have been for months. I just didn't know if it was allowed. If we were allowed to turn this into something real. We're allowed to be anything we choose to be, he said. He kissed me then. Really kissed me. For the first time. It was gentle. Sweet. Perfect. When we pulled apart, we were both smiling. So, he said, should we move your things to my room? Or should I move to yours? I laughed. Yours. It's bigger. That night, I moved into Daniel's room. Into our room. And our marriage became real. 2 years later, our daughter was born. We named her Rose after Daniel's mother. She was perfect. Tiny and loud and absolutely perfect. Daniel cried when he held her for the first time. She's so small, he kept saying. So perfect. I watched him with her. This man who'd been so broken. So angry. Now he was gentle. Tender. Full of love. She has your eyes, I told him. She has your strength, he replied. Rose was 6 months old when it happened. We were in the village. At the market. Daniel was carrying Rose. I was buying vegetables. Mrs. Porter approached. Sarah's mother. We hadn't seen her in over a year. Daniel, she said. And Margaret. What a beautiful baby. Thank you, Daniel said politely. Sarah had a baby too. A boy. 3 months ago. How lovely, I said, genuinely meaning it. She lives in the city now. Her husband does very well. I'm glad she's happy, Daniel said. Mrs. Porter looked at him. Really looked at him. You're happy too, aren't you? You and Margaret. Yes, Daniel said simply. Very happy. Mrs. Porter's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, she said suddenly. For what I said. 2 years ago. About Sarah needing a real partner. It was cruel. You've been nothing but kind to my family, and I. Mrs. Porter, Daniel interrupted gently. It's all right. Sarah chose her path. I chose mine. We're both exactly where we're meant to be. She nodded. Touched Rose's tiny hand. She's blessed to have you both. After she left, I looked at Daniel. That was gracious. I meant it, he said. I don't have room for anger anymore. I'm too full of everything else. He kissed the top of Rose's head. Then mine. We walked home together. A family. Rose grew into a happy, curious child. She had Daniel's intelligence and my practicality. When she was 3, Daniel started teaching at the village school. Part-time at first. Then full-time. He was brilliant at it. The children loved him. He made learning exciting. I'd watch him sometimes through the schoolhouse window and think about the man who'd sat in that wheelchair, hollow and hopeless. He was so far from that now. We were so far from that. One evening, when Rose was 5, she asked, Papa, why do people say you couldn't walk before? Daniel and I exchanged glances. We'd talked about this. About when to tell her. How to tell her. Come here, little one, Daniel said, pulling her into his lap. A long time ago, I was hurt, he said. And I couldn't walk for a while. But then I got better. Like when I scraped my knee? Yes. Exactly like that. Except it took longer. And then you met Mama? Yes. Mama came to help grandmother and me. And then you fell in love. I smiled. Yes. Then we fell in love. And then you had me? And then we had you, Daniel confirmed, kissing her head. And you're the best thing that ever happened to us. I know, Rose said matter-of-factly. We laughed. When Rose was 7, we had another child. A son. We named him Thomas after my father. My father cried when we told him. You honor me, he said. You gave me to Daniel, I said. Even if you didn't know what you were doing. You gave me the chance at this life. I was desperate, my father said. And scared. I didn't know. I know. But it doesn't matter. It all turned out exactly as it should. Thomas was 3 years old when Mrs. Henderson got sick. She was dying. Cancer. The doctor said she had weeks. We visited her often. Brought the children. She loved seeing them. One afternoon, she asked to speak to me alone. Daniel took the children to the garden. I sat beside her bed. Margaret, she said. Her voice was weak. I need to tell you something. Before I go, you should rest. No. This is important. It's about Daniel. My heart started pounding. I've known, she said, since the beginning, that he could walk. I stared at her. I saw him, she continued. About a month before you married. I came to the house late one evening. The door was open. I saw him in the kitchen, walking. He didn't know I was there. Why didn't you say anything? Because I understood, she said. I saw what the accident had done to him. Not to his body, to his spirit. People had hurt him, abandoned him. I understood why he withdrew. She took my hand. But then I thought about you. You were drowning on that farm. Your father was drowning. And Daniel needed someone. Not someone who would pity him. Someone who would see him. You arranged the marriage knowing the truth? Yes. And I'm not sorry. Look at your life now. Look at your children. Look at how happy you both are. But you let me walk into that marriage blind. Would you have married him if you'd known? She asked. I thought about it. Honestly thought about it. I don't know, I admitted. Exactly. Sometimes we need to stumble into our blessings. Sometimes if we see them coming, we run the other way. Did his mother know? No. Rose never knew. She died thinking he was disabled, thinking she was leaving him broken. It gave her peace to see him married before she passed. Mrs. Henderson closed her eyes. I'm telling you now because I don't want to die with this secret. And because I want you to know what I did arranging that marriage, it was the best thing I ever did. For both of you. I sat there processing. Are you angry with me? She asked. Was I? No, I realized. I'm not angry. You're right. It was the best thing. For both of us. She smiled, squeezed my hand weakly. Take care of that good man, she said. And those beautiful babies. That's all that matters. I will. She died 2 days later. At her funeral, I told Daniel what Mrs. Henderson had said. We were standing by her grave, after everyone else had left. She knew, he said quietly. All along. Yes. And she still arranged our marriage. Because she saw what we couldn't see. That we needed each other. He put his arm around me. She was right. Yes. She was. We stood there in silence for a moment. Do you ever think about it? He asked. What our lives would be like if we hadn't married. Sometimes. I'd probably still be in that chair, he said. Still angry. Still alone. And I'd probably still be on that failing farm. Taking care of my father until one of us died. We saved each other, he said. We did. He turned to me. No regrets. Not one. I said honestly. You. Only that I wasted the first few months being stubborn. I should have fallen in love with you faster. I smiled. We had time. We still have time. All the time in the world, he agreed. Rose grew into a bright, compassionate young woman. She became a teacher like her father. Thomas was quieter, thoughtful. He loved books and writing. Like Daniel, we watched them grow with such pride, such joy. Daniel and I grew older together. Our hair turned gray. Lines formed around our eyes from years of smiling. We never did tell the children the whole truth. About the wheelchair. About the arrangement. About how their parents' marriage started. They know we love each other, Daniel said. That's the truth that matters. And it was true. Whatever we'd been at the start, we were truly in love now. Deeply. Completely. On our 25th wedding anniversary, Daniel took me back to the apple tree. It was spring. The tree was in full bloom. Do you remember the first time I brought you here? He asked. You asked me to stay married to you. By choice. And you said yes. Best decision I ever made. He pulled something from his pocket. A small box. I never gave you a proper engagement ring, he said. We didn't have that kind of wedding. He opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band with a small diamond. It's not much, he said. But I wanted you to have it. To know that if I could go back and do it all again, I'd choose you. Every time. Not because of an arrangement. Not because of circumstances. Because you're you. And I love you. I was crying. Daniel, will you marry me, Margaret? Again. For real this time. We're already married. I laughed through my tears. I know. But will you choose it? Choose me? Choose us. All over again. Yes, I said. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger. Kissed me under the apple tree. Just like his parents. Just like the beginning of their story. And it felt like a beginning for us too. Again. When I was 70 and Daniel was 72, Rose got married. To a good man. A kind man. A teacher from the next village over. At the wedding, I watched her dance with her husband. Watched the way they looked at each other. Do you think she's happy? Daniel asked, his arm around me. Yes. I think she's very happy. We did all right, didn't we? As parents. We did better than all right. Rose came over to us during the reception, hugged us both. "Thank you," she said, "for showing me what love looks like. Real love. The kind that lasts." "You're welcome, sweetheart," Daniel said. After she went back to her guests, Daniel took my hand. "We did show them, didn't we?" he said quietly. "What real love looks like." "Yes, we did. Even though we started as strangers. Especially because we started as strangers," I said. "We got to choose each other. Every single day. That's more than most people get." He kissed my temple. "I choose you today too. And I choose you." Now I'm 72. Daniel is 74. We sit on our porch most evenings, watching the sunset, holding hands. Sometimes our grandchildren visit. Rose has 3 children. Thomas has 2. They fill our house with noise and laughter. With life. Daniel still writes. His stories are published now. Small press. Nothing famous. But real. I still sing when I cook. And Daniel still makes terrible puns. Some things never change. Last week, a young woman from the village came to visit. She was engaged to be married. But she was worried. "It's arranged," she told us. "Our families think it's a good match. But I don't know him. I don't love him." Daniel and I looked at each other. "Can I tell you a story?" I asked her. And I did. The whole thing. About the wheelchair. About the wedding night. About the choice to love. About building a life one day at a time. She listened with wide eyes. "So it worked out," she said when I finished. "Even though you didn't love each other at first. It worked out because we chose to make it work," Daniel corrected gently. "Love isn't just a feeling. It's a decision you make. Every day. To see the other person. To care for them. To build something together. Do you think I should marry him?" she asked. "I think you should be honest with yourself," I said. "About what you want. What you can live with. What you're willing to build. There's no one right answer." She left thoughtful. Later, Daniel said, "Do you think we gave her good advice?" "I think we gave her honest advice. What she does with it is up to her." Last month, Daniel got sick. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow decline of an aging body. The doctor says he has maybe 6 months. Maybe less. We don't talk about it much. There's no point. We've had 44 years. That's more than many people get. Instead, we talk about memories. About Rose's first steps. About Thomas's first story. About the day we planted the garden. About the first time Daniel made me laugh. "Do you remember," he said yesterday, "the night I came upstairs? After the wedding? How scared I was. You were shaking. I thought you'd be angry. That you'd feel betrayed. I was shocked. But you listened. You let me explain. You gave me a chance. Because I saw you," I said. "Really saw you. Not the wheelchair. Not the lie. You. You saved me, Margaret." "No. We saved each other." He smiled. Took my hand. "Fair enough. This morning, I'm sitting on the porch. Daniel is sleeping inside. The doctor says he needs rest. I'm watching the sunrise. Thinking about everything. About the girl I was. 28 years old. Washing dishes in my father's failing farmhouse. About the wedding day. The wheelchair. The shock. About the choice I made. To stay. To try. To love. Was it hard? Yes. At first. Was it worth it? Yes. Every moment. I hear movement inside. Daniel is awake. I go to him. Help him to the porch. We sit together. Watch the sun climb higher. "Beautiful morning," he says. "Every morning with you is beautiful," I reply. He laughs. Then coughs. Then settles. "Margaret, yes. Thank you. For saying yes. For staying. For loving me. Thank you for walking up those stairs. For trusting me with the truth. For building this life with me." We sit in comfortable silence. And I think about the village elders. About how they forced me to marry a disabled man. About how it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because sometimes the worst circumstances lead to the best lives. Sometimes strangers become soulmates. Sometimes arrangements become love stories. And sometimes, just sometimes, what looks like an ending is really a beginning.
What's the most unexpected blessing in your life? How did it come to you? Share your story below. We'd love to hear it. The end. Love isn't always found. Sometimes it's built. One choice at a time. One day at a time. One moment at a time. And that kind of love, the chosen kind, that's the kind that lasts forever.